My name is James Walker. For almost 3 decades, I've kept this story to myself because I know exactly how it sounds. If someone else told me the same thing, I probably wouldn't believe them either. But I still have the police report. I still have the photographs. And somewhere in a storage box in my basement, there's an old VHS tape that destroyed everything I thought I knew about that night. Even now, after 28 years, I still can't explain where my family and I really went. It happened in the fall of 1998. I was 29 years old, recently married, and trying my best to balance work with family life. My wife, Emily, and I had a 6-month-old daughter named Sophie. She was the kind of baby who almost never cried. Even strangers would joke that she'd inherited her mother's calm personality. That weekend, we decided to take a short road trip through the Appalachian Mountains before winter arrived. Nothing special. Just 2 days away from the city. Fresh air, beautiful scenery, a chance to relax before life became busy again. It was supposed to be one of those ordinary family memories that slowly faded over time. Instead, it became the last normal day of our lives. The weather had been perfect that morning. Blue skies, golden leaves covering both sides of the highway. The mountains looked endless. Emily sat beside me, humming softly while Sophie slept peacefully in her child's seat behind us. For hours, everything felt exactly the way life should feel. Comfortable, quiet, safe. Around 5 in the afternoon, we left the main highway to explore one of the older mountain roads we'd found on a paper map. There were no GPS systems back then, just road signs and luck. The road became narrower the farther we drove. Traffic disappeared. Cell phones barely worked in those mountains anyway. But after another 20 minutes, we didn't see another vehicle at all. Just forest. Miles and miles of dense forest. "Are you sure this is the right road?" Emily asked. I looked down at the folded map. It should reconnect with Highway 17. She looked out the passenger window. "I haven't seen a house in almost half an hour." I laughed. "That's kind of the point of getting away from people." She smiled. "I guess." About 15 minutes later, the engine coughed. Once, then again. The steering wheel vibrated beneath my hands. A warning light flashed on the dashboard. Before I could react, the engine died completely. The car rolled silently to the side of the road. Everything became strangely quiet. I tried starting the engine again. Nothing. Again. Still nothing. Emily looked at me. "Please tell me this isn't serious. I hope it's just overheating." I stepped outside. The cold mountain air hit my face immediately. When I lifted the hood, I realized I had absolutely no idea what I was looking at. The sun was already dropping behind the mountains. Darkness came quickly in those woods. There were no streetlights, no buildings, no signs, nothing, just endless trees. Emily climbed out with Sophie wrapped in a blanket. "What now?" I looked in both directions. "I'll walk for a few minutes. There has to be a gas station or someone's house nearby." She frowned. "I don't like this place." Neither did I, but I couldn't explain why. The forest was unnaturally quiet. No birds, no insects. Even the wind seemed to avoid those trees. It was the kind of silence that makes you lower your own voice without realizing it. After walking for nearly 10 minutes, I saw something, a single light, far ahead, barely visible through the trees. At first I thought it was another car. Then, another light appeared beside it, and another, neon, bright enough to cut through the darkness. I turned around and shouted toward Emily. "I found something." We slowly pushed the car just far enough off the road to leave it safely behind. Emily carried Sophie while I grabbed a flashlight. The 3 of us followed the faint lights through the trees. The farther we walked, the brighter they became. Within a few minutes, we stepped out of the forest, and standing alone beside the empty mountain road was a small convenience store. Its old neon sign buzzed softly above the entrance. Miller's General Store, open 24 hours. Emily let out a relieved sigh. "Oh, thank God." I smiled too. At that moment, neither of us noticed the first strange thing. For a store in the middle of nowhere, there wasn't a single car parked outside, only ours. And yet, through the front window, We could clearly see people inside, standing perfectly still, watching us. The automatic glass door slid open with a soft mechanical hiss. A warm wave of air rolled over us. It smelled faintly of old coffee, dust, and something sweet I couldn't identify. Not unpleasant, just wrong. The kind of smell that doesn't belong anywhere but somehow fills an entire room. A tiny brass bell above the entrance chimed once. Every person inside the store turned toward us at exactly the same moment. Not one after another, all together, like someone had pressed a button. I immediately counted 5 people. An elderly man standing beside a refrigerator, a young woman holding a shopping basket, a teenage boy near the snack aisle, a middle-aged couple examining canned food, and behind the register, a thin cashier wearing a faded green apron. Every one of them smiled. Not politely, not naturally, exactly the same smile. "Evening," I said. Nobody answered. They simply continued smiling. Then, almost simultaneously, every one of them slowly turned away and returned to whatever they had been doing. Only, they weren't actually doing anything. The elderly man never opened the refrigerator. The couple never picked up the cans. The teenager never moved from the snack aisle. They simply stood there, pretending. Emily leaned close to me. "Did you notice that?" I nodded. "Yeah. Maybe they're just..." I couldn't finish the sentence, because nothing I was about to say made sense. The cashier finally spoke. His voice was unusually calm. "Welcome." It was almost emotionless, as though he'd practiced saying the same word thousands of times. "You must be tired." I smiled politely. "Our car broke down about a mile back." He nodded once. "I know." I frowned. "You know, the road brings everyone here." Something about the way he said it made my stomach tighten. He didn't ask if we needed help. He didn't ask what happened. He didn't offer to call a tow truck. Instead, he simply pointed toward the shelves. "You should eat first." Emily looked at me. "I'd rather call somebody." The cashier smiled wider. "The phone doesn't work." Almost immediately, he added, "It hasn't worked." He paused. For a very long time, I looked toward the old payphone hanging on the wall. Its receiver was still attached. The cord looked brand new. Yet somehow, I believed him. Sophie suddenly began whimpering. It wasn't loud, just small, uncomfortable sounds. Emily gently rocked her. "It's okay, sweetheart." But Sophie wasn't calming down. If anything, she seemed more frightened every second. While Emily tried comforting her, I walked deeper into the store. Everything looked surprisingly clean. The shelves were full. Bread, cereal, canned food, bottled water, candy. Everything a normal convenience store would sell. Yet something felt artificial, like walking through a perfect movie set. I picked up a bag of potato chips. The packaging looked old, really old. The price sticker read, $1.09. That seemed strange, even for 1998. Then I noticed something else. Every expiration date I checked had already passed. Months ago, some years ago, I grabbed a bottle of milk. Expired. Another. Expired. Bread. Expired. Canned soup. Expired 5 years earlier. A cold chill crawled up my spine. How could an open store be selling food this old? "James!" Emily whispered from behind me. I turned. She wasn't looking at me. She was staring toward the customers. "Watch them." I slowly looked across the store. The elderly man finally opened the refrigerator. But instead of taking something out, he simply stared inside, motionless. The teenage boy still held the same candy bar. Without blinking, the woman with the shopping basket hadn't moved an inch since we'd entered. It suddenly occurred to me, none of them had actually bought anything. None of them had spoken. None of them had walked. I quietly asked Emily, "How long have they been standing there?" She swallowed. "The entire time." Sophie suddenly burst into tears. Not ordinary crying. Screaming. The loudest scream I'd ever heard from her. She reached both tiny hands toward the front door, as if begging to leave. Emily looked terrified. "She never cries like this." The screaming echoed through the store. Every customer slowly stopped pretending to shop. Once again, they all turned toward us. At exactly the same time, the cashier smiled, without looking at Sophie. "Children," he said softly, "always know." Emily grabbed my arm. "We're leaving." I nodded immediately. "Forget the food. Forget the phone. Let's just go." As we hurried toward the entrance, the cashier calmly called after us. "You forgot your receipt." I stopped for half a second. "We didn't buy anything." His smile never changed. "You will." Those 3 words hit me harder than they should have. I didn't understand why, but every instinct in my body screamed the same thing. Run. I reached for the glass door, pulled it open, and froze. The parking lot was gone. Where our car had been, there was only darkness, as if the road itself had completely disappeared. For a moment, I honestly thought I had opened the wrong door. I blinked once, then twice. The parking lot was still gone. The gravel road where we'd left our car had completely disappeared. Beyond the doorway was nothing but darkness. Not ordinary nighttime darkness. It looked thick, dense, almost like black fog. There were no trees, no mountains, no moonlight, no stars. Just blackness. Emily stopped beside me, still holding Sophie tightly against her chest. "James." Her voice trembled. "Where's the car?" I couldn't answer, because I didn't know. I stepped outside. The cold air from earlier was gone. Instead, the darkness felt strangely warm. The ground beneath my boots was still gravel, but after only a few feet, simply vanished, like the earth itself ended. I shined my flashlight ahead. The beam disappeared after only a few yards. Not because it wasn't powerful enough, because there was nothing for the light to hit. I took another cautious step, then another. Emily suddenly grabbed my jacket. "No." I looked back. Her face had turned pale. "Please don't. I just want to find the road. There isn't one." The certainty in her voice frightened me more than the darkness. Emily wasn't the type of person who panicked. She was usually calmer than I was. If she looked terrified, something was terribly wrong. Sophie wouldn't stop crying. She wasn't looking at us anymore. She kept staring into the darkness, stretching one tiny arm toward it. Not reaching, pointing, as if she could see something we couldn't. Then, very faintly, I heard footsteps. Crunch, crunch, crunch. They sounded exactly like someone walking across gravel. Slow, heavy, steady, coming from somewhere inside the darkness. "Hello," I called. No answer. The footsteps continued. Crunch, crunch, crunch. They never got louder. They never got quieter. It was impossible to tell whether whoever or whatever was walking toward us or away from us. Emily whispered, "Get back inside." For once, I didn't argue. The automatic door slid shut behind us. The strange darkness disappeared instantly. Through the front window, the road had returned. Our station wagon sat exactly where we'd left it. The trees surrounded the parking lot once again. Everything looked perfectly normal. I stared through the glass. "What?" Emily interrupted. "James." I turned. She wasn't looking outside. She was staring toward the cashier. He hadn't moved. He still stood behind the register, still smiling, still watching us, almost as if he'd been expecting our reaction. "I think," he said quietly, "you should stay until morning." I forced a laugh. "We're leaving now. You can." His smile widened. "You just won't get very far." Something inside me snapped. I walked straight to the counter. "Listen, my wife and daughter are scared. Our car broke down. If this is some kind of joke, it isn't funny." The cashier looked directly into my eyes. For the first time, his smile disappeared, only for a second. Then he calmly asked, "What year do you think it is?" I frowned. What year?" 1998. He nodded slowly. "I thought so." Before I could ask what he meant, he reached beneath the counter, pulled out a newspaper, and slid it toward me. I glanced at the date, then froze. The newspaper was yellow with age. The ink had faded, but the date was still readable. October 14th, the year. Read, 1978. I laughed nervously. Very funny. Old newspaper. He didn't respond. Instead, he slowly pointed toward the wall behind me. I turned around. There was a calendar hanging beside the coffee machine. Every page had been carefully flipped, until only one remained. October, 1978. Emily stared at it, then looked back at me. Her lips trembled. James! Did someone change that while we were outside? I wanted to say yes. I wanted to believe it, but neither of us had taken our eyes off that wall since entering the store. Nobody had gone near it. Then, the elderly man near the refrigerator finally spoke. Without turning around, without looking at us. In a tired, quiet voice, he said, "Don't believe the calendar." A second later, the teenage boy answered from the snack aisle. "It changes every night." Then, the woman holding the shopping basket whispered, "But none of us ever leave." Silence filled the store. Emily slowly stepped backward until she was standing beside me again. She whispered so quietly I almost didn't hear her. "James, I don't think those people are customers." At that exact moment, the bell above the entrance rang again. Someone else had just walked into the store. The tiny brass bell above the entrance rang once. Every person inside the store turned toward the door. Again, at exactly the same time. Even the cashier, even the old man, even the teenage boy. It was as if someone had pressed an invisible switch. A family walked inside. A man, a woman, and a little girl no older than 8. They looked perfectly ordinary. The father wore a brown flannel jacket. The mother carried a paper map. The little girl hugged a stuffed rabbit. They smiled politely as they entered. "Evening," the father said. The cashier nodded. "Welcome." His voice sounded completely normal now, almost friendly. Emily let out a relieved breath. "Thank God." "What? They're normal." For a moment, I thought she was right. The family laughed together. The little girl wandered toward the candy shelf. The mother asked where the restroom was. Everything looked normal. The father noticed us. "Car trouble?" I nodded. "Yeah." He smiled. "Ours too." He pointed toward the window. "These mountain roads are terrible." Finally, someone who acted like a real person. He walked closer. "I'm Michael." I shook his hand. "James. This is my wife, Emily." He smiled warmly. "My wife, Laura." The two women exchanged nervous smiles. Almost immediately, they began talking. Just ordinary conversation. About babies, road trips, weather. For the first time in nearly half an hour, everything felt almost safe again. Sophie finally stopped crying. Emily looked relieved. "See," she whispered. "Maybe we were just overthinking everything." I wanted to believe her. I really did. The little girl skipped happily toward the freezer. "Daddy, can I have ice cream?" Michael laughed. "If it's still frozen." The cashier smiled. "It always is." Something about that sentence bothered me. Not what he said. The way he said it. Michael suddenly looked at me. "You staying around here tonight?" "I don't know. Our car won't start." He nodded. "You should stay." I frowned. "You too." He laughed awkwardly. "Trust me. It's safer." Before I could ask why, the little girl screamed. Not loudly, just one short frightened gasp. She pointed toward the large mirror hanging near the coffee machine. "Daddy!" The father turned. "What is it?" She slowly whispered. "Why aren't we in the mirror?" Every hair on my body stood up. I looked toward the mirror. It reflected the shelves, the cashier, the old customers, Emily, me, Sophie, everything, except the family, Michael, Laura, their daughter. None of them appeared. I rubbed my eyes, looked again. Nothing. It was as though the mirror simply refused to acknowledge they existed. Emily saw it too. She grabbed my hand so tightly her nails dug into my skin. "James." "I know." Michael slowly looked toward the mirror. His smile faded, just for a second. Then, he quietly said, "Not again." The cashier sighed, almost like a disappointed parent. "You weren't supposed to notice." The entire store became silent. Even the refrigerator stopped humming. Even the buzzing neon lights outside disappeared. Absolute silence. Laura slowly turned toward the cashier. "You promised." Her voice no longer sounded friendly. It sounded empty. The cashier answered calmly, "I only promised. They wouldn't notice until later." Michael looked at us. Real fear filled his face now. "Listen to me. You need to leave." Emily stared at him. "But," he interrupted. "No, you need to leave. Before midnight." I stepped closer. "What are you talking about?" He looked around nervously, then lowered his voice. "We've been trying to leave for 20 years. Emily's face turned white. "What?" Michael slowly pointed toward the front window. "Go outside. Look at the parking lot. And whatever you do, don't count the cars." Before either of us could move, the little girl suddenly looked directly at Sophie. She smiled sadly, then quietly asked, "Is your baby still alive?" The question hit the room like a gunshot. Emily instinctively pulled Sophie against her chest. "What kind of question is that?" The little girl didn't answer. She simply hugged her stuffed rabbit tighter, then whispered, almost to herself, "Mine wasn't." At that exact moment, every light inside the store flickered. Once, twice, 3 times. When they came back on, the family was gone. No footsteps, no door opening, no sound. They had simply disappeared. Only the little girl's stuffed rabbit remained, lying in the middle of the floor, still rocking gently, as though someone had dropped it only a second ago. For nearly 10 seconds, neither Emily nor I moved. The stuffed rabbit lay in the middle of the floor, gently rocking back and forth. Nobody touched it. Nobody even looked at it. The cashier simply picked up a receipt and began writing something. The elderly man returned to staring into the refrigerator. The teenage boy was back in the snack aisle. It was as if the family had never existed. Emily's breathing became shaky. "You saw them?" I nodded. "I talked to him." "You heard what he said?" "I heard everything." She looked toward the rabbit. "Then where did they go?" I didn't answer, because I had no answer. The cashier suddenly spoke without looking at us. "You should stop asking questions." His pen continued moving across the receipt. "It makes leaving more difficult." I ignored him. Instead, I slowly walked toward the stuffed rabbit. Something about it bothered me. The toy looked old. Its white fur had turned yellow with age. One button I was missing. The fabric around its neck had been stitched several times by hand. It looked loved. I bent down and picked it up. It felt surprisingly heavy, almost as if something solid had been hidden inside it. When I turned it over, a faded name had been written on the cloth tag. Lily. Below the name, someone had stitched a date, 1978. A cold sensation spread through my chest. Exactly the same year that had appeared on the newspaper. Emily looked over my shoulder. "James." "I know." Without warning, the old man by the refrigerator quietly whispered, "Don't take it." His voice sounded exhausted, like someone who hadn't slept in years. "If you take it..." He paused. "She'll follow you." I slowly placed the rabbit back on the floor. Immediately, the rocking stopped. Nobody said another word. Then I remembered what Michael had told me. "Go outside. Whatever you do, don't count the cars." I looked at Emily. "I'm checking the parking lot." She grabbed my wrist. "No, I'm not staying in here. We'll go together." The cashier looked up for the first time in several minutes. His smile slowly returned. "You really shouldn't." I ignored him. I pushed the glass door open. This time, the road was still there. Our station wagon still sat exactly where we'd left it. The mountain forest surrounded the small store. Everything looked completely normal. Almost. The air outside felt colder than before. A thick fog had rolled across the parking lot. Not enough to hide everything, just enough to make distant shapes blurry. Emily stepped beside me. "See, the road's back." I nodded, but something still felt wrong. I looked toward our car, still there. Then, almost without thinking, my eyes drifted across the rest of the parking lot. Cars, lots of them. An old pickup truck, a blue station wagon, a rusted sedan, a delivery van, police cruiser, a motorcycle. My stomach tightened. Emily frowned. Where did all those cars come from? Only seconds ago, the parking lot had been empty. Now, there were vehicles everywhere. Some looked brand new. Others looked abandoned for decades. Every one of them was parked neatly, as if waiting for their owners. I remembered Michael's warning, "Don't count the cars." I immediately looked away, but it was too late. My brain had already started. 1, 2, 3, no, stop. I closed my eyes, forced myself to think about something else, anything else. Then I heard a car door slam. I turned instinctively. A man stood beside an old red pickup. He looked directly at me. He smiled, then slowly raised one hand, not waving, pointing toward our station wagon. Emily whispered, "Who's that?" "I don't know." The man never moved. He simply continued pointing. I walked a few steps toward our car. Something white was tucked beneath the windshield wiper, a folded piece of paper. I pulled it free. The paper looked old, yellow, fragile. It had been folded many times. I opened it. There were only 2 sentences, written in faded blue ink. "If you're reading this, you already counted them." My heartbeat stopped. Below the message, someone had signed it. James Walker. My own name, my own handwriting. The paper slipped from my fingers. Emily picked it up, read it, then looked at me with wide, terrified eyes. "James, you didn't write this." "I know." Behind us, the automatic store door slowly opened by itself. Neither of us heard footsteps, but a familiar voice quietly spoke from the darkness inside. The cashier, still smiling, still calm. He said only one sentence. "Now they know you can see them." Before I could turn around, every parked car in the lot switched on its headlights. At exactly the same moment, the parking lot exploded with light. Every headlight turned on at the exact same instant, not one after another, all together. The beams cut through the thick mountain fog, flooding the empty road with harsh white light. For a split second, it looked almost beautiful. Then, I realized something. Every pair of headlights was aimed directly at us. Emily instinctively shielded Sophie's face from the blinding lights. "What are they doing?" I couldn't answer, because I was asking myself the same question. The engines never started. There was no sound, no vibration, no exhaust smoke. The vehicles remained completely still. Only the lights were alive, watching us. Then, one horn sounded. A long, low groan. Several seconds later, another horn answered from the opposite side of the parking lot. Then another, then another. Within moments, every vehicle was honking, not randomly, not chaotically, almost rhythmically, as though they were trying to communicate with one another. Sophie buried her face against Emily's shoulder and began screaming again, louder than before. She was shaking so violently that Emily nearly dropped her. "It's okay," Emily whispered repeatedly. "It's okay." But neither of us believed it anymore. I grabbed Emily's hand. "We're getting back to the car." She nodded immediately. Neither of us even looked toward the store. The cashier could stay there forever. I didn't care. I just wanted my family out of that place. We hurried toward our station wagon. The headlights followed us. Not physically, but somehow, every beam seemed to move just enough to stay fixed on us, like hundreds of eyes tracking our every step. Halfway across the parking lot, the horns stopped. Instantly, absolute silence returned. Even worse than the noise, Emily froze. "James, don't stop." "No." She slowly pointed toward the driver's seat of our car. There. Someone was sitting inside. A man, silhouette only, His hands rested calmly on the steering wheel. His head faced straight ahead. He didn't move. He simply sat there, waiting. I felt my stomach twist. We locked the car. Emily whispered, "I know." I forced myself to keep walking. With every step, the figure became clearer. Dark jacket, short hair, broad shoulders. Something about him looked uncomfortably familiar. I finally stood beside the driver's door. The figure slowly turned his head. I stopped breathing. It was me. Not similar. Not close. Exactly me. Same beard. Same jacket. Same wedding ring. Even the small scar above my left eyebrow. My reflection smiled. I wasn't smiling. Emily gasped. "Oh my God!" She looked from me to the man inside the car, then back again. Neither of us spoke. Neither of us could. The other James slowly raised one finger, placed it against his lips, then whispered something. Although the windows were closed, I heard every word perfectly. "Don't let her see you twice." Before I could react, he disappeared. Not faded, not ran away. Simply gone. The driver's seat became empty. I yanked the door open. Nobody inside. The seat was cold. Ice cold. As if nobody had sat there for years. Emily climbed into the passenger seat with Sophie. "Hurry!" I jumped behind the wheel, turned the key. The engine immediately started. Perfectly. As if nothing had ever been wrong. I slammed the gear into reverse. The tires spun across the gravel. Our car shot backward, then forward, straight toward the highway. The convenience store grew smaller in the rearview mirror. Relief finally began settling into my chest. "We made it." Emily nodded. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "We're leaving." Then, the radio turned on by itself. A burst of loud static filled the car. Neither of us had touched it. A calm male voice spoke, crystal clear. "Vehicle departing Miller's General Store." A short pause. Then, "Occupants 3. Another pause. The voice continued. "Vehicle arriving at destination." My hands tightened around the steering wheel. "Occupants." Static. 4. Emily slowly looked into the back seat. I followed her gaze. Sophie had stopped crying. She was smiling, not at us, to someone sitting beside her. For a second, neither Emily nor I breathed. The radio fell silent again. Only the sound of our tires rolling across the mountain road remained. Sophie wasn't crying anymore. She was giggling, softly, the way babies laugh when someone they recognize is making funny faces. Except, neither Emily nor I had spoken. Emily slowly turned around in her seat. "Sophie." Her voice shook. "What are you looking at?" Sophie lifted one tiny hand, reached toward the empty space beside her car seat, then laughed again. There was nobody there. At least, nobody we could see. I tried focusing on the road. The narrow mountain highway twisted through endless trees. Darkness surrounded us again. The convenience store had disappeared behind the hills. I kept telling myself it was over. We'd escaped. Whatever that place was, it was behind us now. Emily whispered, "James." "I know. Do you?" "No." She swallowed hard. "I don't think she's alone." A chill ran through my entire body. I looked into the rearview mirror. Only Sophie, her child seat, her blanket, nothing else. Then, for less than a second, the mirror changed. Someone was sitting beside her. A little girl, long black hair, old-fashioned white dress, holding a worn stuffed rabbit, the same rabbit we'd left behind inside the store. I slammed on the brakes. The station wagon screeched across the empty road. Emily screamed. "What happened?" I looked behind us. The seat was empty again. Only Sophie remained, still smiling, still reaching toward empty air. Emily stared at me. "You saw something." I hesitated, then nodded. There was. I couldn't even finish the sentence, because saying it out loud would make it real. Neither of us spoke for the next several minutes. The forest stretched endlessly on both sides of the road. No houses, no lights, no passing cars, nothing. Then, Sophie started waving, slowly, back and forth. At the empty passenger seat beside her, Emily burst into tears. "Stop," she whispered. "Please stop." She climbed halfway over the seat and unbuckled Sophie. The moment Emily lifted her into her arms, the waving stopped. The smiling stopped. Sophie immediately buried her face against Emily's shoulder, as though she had suddenly become frightened again. "She doesn't want to sit back there," Emily said firmly. "I don't care if it's illegal. She's staying with me." I nodded. I wasn't going to argue. Not tonight. Not after everything we'd seen. We continued driving. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Still no signs of civilization. That didn't make sense. According to our map, we should have reached Highway 17 long ago. I slowed the car. This road should have ended. Emily unfolded the paper map. She traced the route with trembling fingers. She looked confused. "It doesn't." "What?" She turned the map toward me. The road we'd been driving on wasn't printed anymore. It simply stopped halfway across the page. Beyond that point, there was nothing, just blank paper. "That's impossible." "I know." I looked at the road ahead. A faded wooden sign appeared through the fog. I sighed with relief. Finally, a sign. Maybe we'd reached another town. As we drove closer, the words became readable. I felt my heart stop. The sign read, "Welcome to Miller's General Store." An arrow pointed left, exactly the direction we'd just come from. Emily stared through the windshield. "No!" I looked in the rearview mirror. The road behind us was gone. Behind the car, the old convenience store stood once again, its neon sign buzzing softly, exactly where we'd left it, exactly where it shouldn't have been. "We've been driving in circles," Emily whispered. "No," I replied. "We've been driving away." She frowned. "What's the difference?" Before I could answer, the old analog radio crackled again. This time, it wasn't a man's voice. It was a little girl's. Soft, almost cheerful. She whispered only 4 words. "You forgot my rabbit." At that exact moment, something gently knocked 3 times from inside the trunk. Knock, knock, knock. The sound came from directly behind us. Inside the trunk. Not underneath the car. Not from the road. From inside. Emily grabbed my arm so hard that the steering wheel jerked slightly. "You heard that?" I nodded. My throat had gone completely dry. "I heard it." Neither of us spoke. We listened. For nearly 15 seconds, nothing happened. Only the engine humming quietly beneath the hood. Maybe we imagined it. Maybe the spare tire had shifted. Maybe, thump, the entire car shook. Sophie screamed. Emily nearly dropped her. The trunk hit from the inside again. Harder this time, as though something had thrown its entire body against the metal. I slammed the brakes. The station wagon stopped in the middle of the deserted mountain road. Silence. Complete silence. Emily looked at me. "Don't. I have to see." "No. If there's an animal back there." "James." Her voice cracked. "Whatever's back there. It didn't climb in." She was right. We had locked the trunk before leaving home. Nobody had been near our car, except the thing that looked exactly like me. Another knock, much softer, almost polite. 3 slow taps. Knock, knock, knock. Then, a voice, barely audible, coming through the folded rear seats. It sounded muffled, weak, like someone trapped inside a box. "James." I froze. Emily's eyes widened. "You heard that?" I nodded. The voice came again. "James." It sounded exactly like Emily. Emily slowly turned toward me. "I didn't say anything." "I know." Then the voice began crying. Softly, desperately. It sounded identical to my wife. "Please. Let me out. I'm scared." Emily covered her mouth. Tears streamed down her face. "Oh God." The crying continued. "James. It's me. Please. It's dark." Every instinct I had screamed at me to open the trunk. If Emily had somehow... No, That was impossible. She was sitting beside me, holding Sophie. Then the voice changed. Without warning, without transition, it became mine. Exactly mine. Emily, don't open it. Silence. Then another version of my voice answered from inside the trunk. No, open it. Emily began shaking uncontrollably. It knows our voices. Then the crying stopped. Everything became quiet. For nearly a full minute. Nothing. I slowly reached for the driver's door. Emily grabbed my sleeve. If you open that trunk, I don't know. I don't think we'll ever leave. I looked toward the rearview mirror. The trunk was perfectly closed. No movement, no dents, nothing. Then, something impossible happened. The trunk latch slowly lifted by itself. Click. The lid rose 1 inch, then stopped. A narrow black gap appeared. Cold air poured out. Not normal cold. Smelled like wet soil, rotting wood, old rain. Something inside exhaled. Long, slow, human. Emily whispered, "Drive." I didn't hesitate. I slammed the car into gear. The station wagon lunged forward. The trunk slammed shut as the tires spun across the pavement. For the next 10 minutes, neither of us looked back. Finally, lights appeared ahead. Real lights. A gas station. Open. With 2 pickup trucks parked outside. People. Actual people. I almost cried from relief. We pulled into the parking lot so fast the tires screeched. 2 older men standing near the fuel pumps immediately looked over. One of them walked toward us. "You folks all right?" I climbed out of the car. For the first time that night, I didn't know what to say. The older man looked at my face. "You look like you've seen a ghost." Emily quietly whispered, "We probably did." The man laughed awkwardly. Then his smile disappeared. His eyes drifted toward the back of our station wagon. Specifically, the trunk. His face turned pale. He slowly asked, "Where'd you folks come from?" I pointed back toward the mountain road. "There's a convenience store about 15 minutes that way." The old man's expression didn't change. He whispered, almost to himself, "There hasn't been a store on that road since the fire of 1978. Then he looked me directly in the eyes and asked the one question I wasn't prepared to answer. "Then, why is there ash all over the back of your car?" The old man's question echoed in my head. "Why is there ash all over the back of your car?" I turned around so quickly that I almost lost my balance. He was right. The rear bumper, the trunk, even the back window were covered in a thin layer of gray ash. Not dirt, not dust. Fresh enough that the wind hadn't blown it away. Emily slowly stepped out of the passenger seat with Sophie in her arms. The moment she saw the ash, she stopped walking. Her face lost every bit of color. "We never drove through smoke." I nodded. "No." The gas station attendant introduced himself as Frank. He looked to be in his late 60s. Deep wrinkles covered his face, and his hands shook slightly as he lit a cigarette. But his eyes never left the mountain road behind us. "You said," Frank asked quietly, "you stopped at a convenience store?" "Yes, Miller's General Store." The lighter slipped from Frank's hand. It hit the concrete with a metallic click. He didn't even pick it up. A second man standing near the fuel pumps slowly walked over. "You sure that's what the sign said?" I nodded. It was lit up. Open. There were customers inside. The 2 men exchanged a look. Not disbelief. Recognition. Frank finally spoke. "Come inside. Not out here." The gas station office was tiny. Old coffee. Wood-paneled walls. A humming vending machine. Everything about it felt wonderfully ordinary. Exactly the kind of place I'd wanted to find all night. Frank locked the front door behind us, pulled every blind shut, then looked at us. "You folks are lucky." "Lucky?" He nodded. "Most people who stop there." He hesitated. "Don't come back." Emily clutched Sophie tighter. "What are you talking about?" Frank walked behind the counter, reached beneath an old cabinet, pulled out a dusty newspaper clipping sealed inside clear plastic. He carefully laid it on the table. The headline read, "Mountain Convenience Store Destroyed in Mysterious Fire. October 14th, 1978. Below the headline was a black and white photograph. My stomach dropped. It was the exact same building. Same sign, same parking lot, same neon letters. Only, everything was burning. Frank quietly explained. 23 people were inside. No survivors. The fire burned so hot. The investigators couldn't even determine how it started. Emily whispered, "The family." Frank looked at her. "What family?" "The man. His wife. The little girl. They were inside." Frank slowly closed his eyes. "What little girl's name?" I swallowed. "Lily." Frank didn't speak for several seconds. When he finally opened his eyes again, there were tears in them. "Lily Miller," he whispered. "She owned that rabbit." My entire body went numb. Frank pointed toward another photograph clipped beside the article. It showed the victims, one by one, employees, customers, a delivery driver. Then, I saw them, Michael, Laura, little Lily, exactly as we'd seen them, smiling, alive. Emily covered her mouth. "Oh my God!" Frank looked directly at us. "You talked to them." It wasn't a question. I nodded. Frank slowly sat down. My older brother was one of the volunteer firefighters. He was the first one inside after the flames died. He never recovered. What did he see? Frank stared at the old newspaper. He always said, "The bodies weren't trying to get out." Silence filled the room. They were all standing perfectly still, exactly the way we'd found them. They looked, Frank continued, like they were waiting. A cold shiver crawled across my back. Frank opened another folder. Inside were dozens of newspaper clippings. Missing hikers, truck drivers, tourists, families. Every few years, someone disappeared near the same stretch of road. Always at night, always after reporting. A brightly lit convenience store. One article caught my attention. Its headline read, "Police Recover Abandoned Vehicle." Below it was a photograph, an old station wagon, same color as ours, same model, same year. Then I noticed the license plate. It wasn't ours, but it was only one number different. Frank noticed my expression. "You see it?" I nodded slowly. He leaned closer. "There have been 12 cars found over the years, all abandoned. Every owner." He looked directly into my eyes. "Vanished." Emily whispered, "But we got out." Frank didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked past us, toward the office window. His face suddenly went pale. Very slowly, he asked, "Did either of you bring a rabbit inside?" Neither of us moved. Frank wasn't looking at us anymore. He was staring at the floor, between Emily's feet. Emily looked down. The old stuffed rabbit, covered in gray ash, was lying beside Sophie's tiny shoes. Neither of us had brought it. Neither of us had even touched it. Yet somehow, it had followed us. Then, Sophie smiled, looked down at the rabbit, and softly whispered, "Lily says she doesn't want to stay alone anymore." The rabbit lay motionless on the floor. Its faded button. I stared straight at Sophie. No one spoke. Even Frank looked afraid to move. Emily immediately picked Sophie up and stepped backward. "James." Her voice shook. "Get rid of it." I slowly bent down. Every instinct told me not to touch it, but leaving it there somehow felt even worse. I picked it up with 2 fingers. The fabric was damp, not with water, with something thick, cold, and smelling faintly of smoke. Frank quickly grabbed an old metal trash can. "Put it in here." I dropped the rabbit inside. He immediately slammed the lid shut, then, without saying a word, wrapped heavy duct tape around the entire lid. Again, and again, almost 20 full layers. Emily stared at him. "You've done this before." Frank didn't answer immediately. He simply looked at the sealed trash can, then quietly said, "Not with the rabbit." Silence. Finally, Frank sighed. I think it's time. He walked toward an old filing cabinet hidden behind the office counter, unlocked the bottom drawer, pulled out a dusty cardboard box. Across the top, someone had written in black marker, Miller case. Inside the box were dozens of photographs, police reports, maps, cassette tapes, and one VHS tape. Its label read, Security Camera, October 14th, 1978. I've never shown this to anyone outside town, Frank said. But after what you've told me, I think you deserve to see it. The second man rolled an old television into the office, connected the VCR, inserted the tape. The screen filled with static. Then, a grainy black and white image appeared. Camera 1. Outside the convenience store, rain poured from the night sky. The parking lot looked exactly like the one we'd visited. Only, it was empty. The timestamp read, 10:41 p.m., October 14th, 1978. People entered the store. Cars arrived. Everything looked perfectly ordinary. Until 11:17 p.m. Without warning, every customer stopped moving. At exactly the same moment. Exactly the way we'd seen them. One by one, they slowly turned toward the front door, staring at something outside. Something the camera couldn't see. Then, every light inside the store exploded. The screen filled with white static. When the image returned, the building was on fire. Nobody ran. Nobody tried to escape. The people inside simply remained standing, watching, until the smoke completely swallowed them. Emily couldn't hold back her tears anymore. She buried her face against my shoulder. Frank ejected the tape. I wish that was the strangest part. He opened another envelope. Inside was a newer videotape. Its label simply read, 2004. What happened in 2004? I asked. Frank looked at me. A family claimed they found the store, just like us. The newer tape began playing. This footage came from a highway surveillance camera. The quality was much better. Color, digital timestamp. A silver SUV pulled off the highway. A man, a woman, a little boy. They walked toward the trees, laughing, smiling, holding hands. The camera watched them disappear into the forest. 22 minutes later, they came running back. The father carried the little boy. The mother kept looking behind her, as though something was chasing them. Police later interviewed them. According to the report, they described the exact same convenience store, the same cashier, the same smiling customers. Frank paused the video. You know what the police thought? I shook my head. They thought the family hallucinated. He pressed play again. The footage continued. The family reached their SUV, opened the doors. Then, the father suddenly froze. He looked back toward the forest. For nearly 15 seconds, he stared at something invisible. Then, he slowly smiled. Exactly like the cashier. Emily gasped. The father climbed back into the SUV, drove away. 3 weeks later, according to the police report, he murdered his wife, then disappeared with his son. Neither has ever been found. The room became completely silent. Frank turned the television off. I told you, most people never come back. He looked directly at me. But the ones who do, they're never completely alone. Before I could respond, the office lights flickered. Once, twice, then the television turned itself back on. Nobody touched it. The VCR had already been ejected. The screen should have been blue. Instead, a live camera feed appeared. Black and white, grainy. Took me a second to realize what I was looking at. It was the gas station. This gas station. From somewhere outside, we could see the front entrance, the fuel pumps, our station wagon, everything. Then, all four of us noticed the same thing. Standing behind our car was a man. He wore my jacket, my wedding ring, my face. He slowly looked directly into the camera, smiled, and raised one finger to his lips, as if warning whoever was watching to stay quiet. For several long seconds, nobody in the office moved. The television continued showing the live security feed. Standing behind my station wagon was me. Not someone who looked like me. Not someone wearing similar clothes. Me. The same jacket. The same watch. The same scar above my left eyebrow. Even the way he stood was exactly the way I always stood. Emily slowly stepped away from me. Her breathing became shallow. "James," she whispered, "tell me. You're standing beside me." I looked down at my own hands. I could feel my heartbeat. I could hear Emily crying. I could smell the coffee inside the office. I was here. I knew I was. But the television insisted. I was outside. Frank grabbed the remote. He changed channels. The image disappeared. Local news. Weather. Then he switched back. The same camera. The same parking lot. The same man. Still smiling. Still standing perfectly still behind our car. Then, the man on the screen slowly raised his right hand. At exactly the same moment, my own right arm began lifting by itself. I tried to stop it. Couldn't. Every muscle in my arm moved without my permission. Emily screamed. Frank grabbed my shoulder. "What the hell?" The hand on the screen reached shoulder height. Mine did too. Then, the figure slowly waved. My hand waved back. The moment it ended, control returned. I stumbled backward. "What?" I looked at my hand. It was shaking violently. "I didn't do that." Nobody answered, because everyone had seen it. Frank walked toward a telephone. "This isn't enough. I'm calling Sheriff Collins." 25 minutes later, 2 police cruisers pulled into the gas station. Sheriff Daniel Collins had worked those mountains for nearly 30 years. He listened carefully, never interrupted, never laughed. When we finished, he remained silent for almost a full minute. Finally, he said, "I've heard this story before." Emily looked at him. "You believe us?" "No," he answered honestly. "But I believe something happened." He asked us to drive back to the location together. 3 police vehicles, our station wagon, Frank's pickup, 6 people, broad floodlights, police radios, shotguns, everything. When we reached the place where the store should have been, there was nothing, only cracked concrete, blackened earth, and the burned foundation of a building that had disappeared decades earlier. Sheriff Collins slowly walked across the ruins. "This is where it stood." He pointed toward the center. "The register was over there." He pointed again. "The coolers. Back there." Everything matched. "Exactly." Emily whispered, "This is it." I nodded. "I know." One deputy suddenly shouted, "Sheriff!" Everyone ran toward him. He had found something buried beneath fallen concrete. A rusted metal cash register, half melted by fire, still locked. The sheriff ordered photographs, measurements, evidence bags, routine police procedure. Everything felt strangely normal again, until one deputy looked up. "Sir." He pointed toward the forest. Lights, small white lights, moving slowly between the trees. 1, then 2, then 5, then dozens. The sheriff frowned. "Flashlights." Another deputy shook his head. "They're too high." The lights stopped moving, perfectly still, watching us. Sheriff Collins raised a loudspeaker. "This is the county sheriff's department. If anyone is out there, identify yourself." No answer. Then, every radio carried by every officer exploded with static. A calm voice spoke, exactly the same one we'd heard in our car. "Store closing in 5 minutes." Every officer looked at each other. Nobody had transmitted. The sheriff grabbed his radio. "Who's broadcasting?" Only static answered. Then, a second voice. A little girl. Soft, cheerful. "Daddy, we have new customers." One of the younger deputies turned pale. "Sir." He slowly pointed behind us. The old convenience store was standing there again, exactly as we'd seen it. Bright neon lights, fresh paint, warm yellow windows, not burned, not abandoned, open. The sheriff spun around, his face drained of color. Every officer saw it. Every single one. For nearly 10 seconds, nobody spoke. Then, Sheriff Collins quietly gave one order. One sentence that would later disappear from every official report. Nobody walks toward that building. At that exact moment, the automatic glass door slowly slid open. The cashier stepped outside, smiled at all of us, then calmly asked, "Will anyone be needing a receipt tonight?" Nobody moved. Not the sheriff, not the deputies, not Frank, not Emily. Even Sophie, who had cried almost the entire night, became completely silent. The only sound came from the buzzing neon sign above the store. Miller's General Store, open 24 hours. The cashier stood beneath the glowing lights, still wearing the same faded green apron, still smiling. He looked exactly as he had hours earlier, as if time had never touched him. Sheriff Collins slowly raised his flashlight. "Nobody move." The cashier politely tilted his head. "I'm afraid," he said softly. "You're already too late." Without warning, every police flashlight went out. Every vehicle's headlights died. The only remaining light came from the convenience store itself. Its warm yellow glow spilled across the ruined parking lot. Inviting, comforting, completely wrong. One deputy panicked. He raised his shotgun. "Stop right there." The cashier didn't react. He simply smiled, then stepped backward. Inside the store, the automatic door closed behind him. The sheriff immediately shouted, "Everybody back to the vehicles." Nobody argued. We ran. The moment I reached my station wagon, every light suddenly returned. Police flashlights, vehicle headlights, everything. The ruined foundation lay ahead of us once again. Cold, burned, empty. The store was gone. One deputy stood frozen. His flashlight shook violently. "Sir," his voice cracked, "we're missing someone." Everyone looked around. Deputy Aaron Mitchell had vanished. His patrol car remained. His flashlight lay on the ground, still on, still pointing toward the empty foundation. But Aaron was nowhere to be found. The search continued until sunrise. Tracking dogs, state police, helicopters, nothing. No footprints, no blood, no struggle. It was as though he had simply ceased to exist. Officially, Deputy Aaron Mitchell was listed as a missing person. Unofficially, nobody from that department ever volunteered to patrol that highway again. 3 weeks later, Sheriff Collins called me. "James, I think you should come down here." He didn't explain why. At the sheriff's office, he led me into an evidence room. On the table sat an old VHS tape. The label read, "Highway Camera Evidence." "This camera," he said quietly, "was pointed at your car that night." I stared at him. "The whole night?" He nodded. "The whole night." He inserted the tape, pressed play. The footage showed our station wagon driving onto the mountain road, exactly as I remembered. Emily sat beside me. Sophie slept peacefully in the back. Then, our car stopped, exactly where we'd broken down. I waited for the convenience store to appear. It never did. Instead, the tape showed something impossible. Emily stepped out, holding Sophie. I followed. The three of us walked straight into an empty clearing. There was no building, no lights, no parking lot, nothing. We simply stood there, talking, looking around, walking as though shelves surrounded us, stopping as though speaking to invisible people. For 12 minutes, the three of us behaved exactly as though the convenience store existed. But on the tape, there was nothing. Then, I watched myself suddenly grab Emily, run back toward the car, start the engine, drive away. No store, no cashier, no customers, no family, nothing. I looked at Sheriff Collins. "This?" He nodded slowly. "I know, but we all saw it. So did my deputies. So did Frank." He nodded again. "I know." Neither of us spoke for several minutes. Finally, he reached beneath the table, pulled out one final photograph. It had been taken from the same highway camera, just before our car drove away. The photograph clearly showed Emily, Sophie, me, and standing directly behind our station wagon, a fourth person, the cashier, smiling, looking straight into the camera. I looked back at the videotape. Frame by frame, the cashier wasn't there. Only in the photograph. Not the video. Only the photograph. Sheriff Collins quietly slid the picture back into its envelope. I've never been able to explain that. The evidence was sealed. The case was closed. Officially, there had never been a convenience store. Officially, Deputy Mitchell had disappeared during a nighttime search. Officially, the CCTV footage showed nothing unusual. I never returned to that mountain road. Emily refused to talk about that night ever again. Sophie has no memory of it. At least, that's what she tells us. She's 28 years old now. Last winter, she came home carrying a small antique rabbit she'd bought at a flea market. She smiled and asked, "Dad, do you think this used to belong to someone named Lily?" I didn't answer, because stitched into the faded cloth tag, in tiny blue thread, were 4 words I had never told anyone about. "Thank you for coming back." To this day, the old highway still exists. Truck drivers still avoid it after dark. Locals still whisper about strange lights deep in the mountains. And every few years, someone reports stopping at a warm little convenience store called Miller's General Store. Police always investigate. They always find the same thing: an empty clearing, burned concrete, nothing more. But if you search the county archives carefully, you'll eventually discover one photograph that was never released to the public. A black and white image taken from a highway security camera. In it, a family of 3 stands in the middle of an empty field, smiling, talking, shopping, inside a store that doesn't exist. And in the background, watching them from the darkness, stands someone whose smile never changes. No one has ever explained it. No one ever solved it. And after nearly 30 years, the Miller's General Store mystery remains officially unsolved.